Life's full of mind-blowing truths, and many of them are paradoxes. I'll share 15 of my favorites with you. But first, what's a paradox? It's something that seems contradictory, but is actually true when you look closer. Paradoxes twist our minds in a satisfying way, like a pretzel or a figure 8. So in this video, I'll share 15 profound paradoxes I've discovered. If you know any others, please share them in the comments. Number 15. Friendships. The more you try to make people like you, the less they probably will. One really interesting thing about human psychology is that most of the time we're not just saying what we're saying. There's a hidden message, subtext in our words. It's not just the words themselves that matter, it's the reason behind them. If I'm always telling you things because I want you to like me, you might start to doubt my sincerity. We've all met someone who disagrees with everything we say, and it can be really irritating. So it's important to have your own thoughts and opinions. Human relationships need a bit of disagreement and difference of opinion for us to trust that the other person is being real with us. This authenticity is what forms genuine connections between people and makes them like each other. Number 14. Success. The more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. It's amazing how many examples of this exist in the world. I won't go into them, but it's logical, isn't it? To get good at something, you need to learn to do it better. And the way you learn to do it better is by making mistakes. Many people become so focused on avoiding failure to be successful, but it's actually the opposite. You'll become successful by failing early, failing often, and failing forward. Whatever cliche there is about failure, it holds true. Number 13. Fear. When something frightens you, it might be a good idea to face it. Of course, this doesn't mean doing dangerous things like jumping out of a moving car or wrestling a bear. Those are just scary, not helpful. But surprisingly, the things that scares us the most are often the most important things in our lives. Why is that? It's because these things can greatly affect how we see ourselves and how much we value ourselves. When something important is at stake, we naturally get nervous. So if there's something in your life that you're scared to do, even though you know it's good for you, it's probably worth doing. Number 12. Personality. It says that if you strongly dislike a certain trait in others, it might be because you're avoiding that same trait in yourself. Carl Jung called this idea the shadow. It means that the things that bothers us about others are often things we don't want to admit about ourselves. For example, if you get really annoyed by people who can't make decisions, it could be because you struggle with making decisions yourself. Or if you often feel like people are disrespecting you, it might be because you sometimes disrespect others. This reflects how we tend to see in others the things we don't like about ourselves, so we don't have to deal with those aspects of our own personality. Number 11. Connectivity. This paradox is about connectivity. It's interesting because even though we can connect with so many people through the internet and social media, we can also feel more isolated. In the past, people knew their neighbors could influence local issues. But now, with the internet, we're aware of global problems and can interact with huge numbers of people online. This can make us feel like our individual actions are insignificant. When there are thousands of people discussing a topic, we might feel like there's nothing we can do to make a difference. Number 10. Happiness. It suggests that you can only have a truly happy relationship if you're already happy by yourself. If you have some inner emptiness, insecurity, or unresolved trauma that you're trying to fill with love and affection from someone else, it can lead a toxic relationship. You might become overly reliant on your partner for your emotional well-being. This dependency can make the relationship like a wild roller coaster with extreme highs and lows and make you feel sick. Your partner might get upset with you, like if you accidentally puke on their new shoes and you feel terrible because you've linked your happiness with them. This could lead to financial strain and more problems and ultimately unhappiness. The paradox suggests that it's better to find happiness within yourself before seeking it in a relationship. Number 9. Knowledge. The more you learn, the more you realize there's a lot you don't know. Imagine your knowledge as a circle. When your knowledge is small, the circle is small too, and there's just a little bit outside of it that you don't understand. As you learn more, the circle gets bigger, and the border with what you don't know expands too. So when you're an expert, your circle is huge, and there are many things you still don't understand, many questions unanswered, and many mistakes made. This creates a paradox. The more you know, the harder it is to talk about it, because you become more aware of what you don't know. Number 8. Being right. When someone strongly believes they're right, there's a twist. They might actually be wrong. This strange phenomenon is known as paradox number 8, being right. In psychology, there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It suggests that if someone doesn't have much experience or knowledge in a certain area, they'll feel really sure about their opinions. Philosopher Bertrand Russell put it nicely when he said that the world's issue is that fools and fanatics are super confident, while smart people often doubt themselves. Number 7. Imperfections. The more you openly admit your flaws, the more others might see you as perfect. It might sound strange, but when you show your vulnerabilities, even though it's scary, people tend to admire you for your courage and strength. It's like standing in front of a crowd and saying, "Yeah, I have my issues. Sometimes drink too much, and once got sick on my partner's shoes, leading us to breaking up and them dating the mailman." Instead of judging, people often react with admiration, thinking, "Wow, so brave. I admire this person. I want to be their friend, maybe even start a family with them." It's a strange but beautiful idea that by showing our flaws and in accepting our imperfections, we gain more respect and admiration from others. Number 6. Choice. It's like when you have a lot of options, you might actually be less happy with what you choose. For example, if you go to a restaurant with only 4 choices on the menu, you'll probably be happy with whatever you pick. But if you go to a huge restaurant with a huge menu, like the Cheesecake Factory with 45 pages of options, you might spend a long time deciding and then wonder if you made the right choice. This is called the paradox of choice. When there are more options, people tend to be less happy with what they choose. In economics, this is known as opportunity cost of goodwill. With only 4 options, you're giving up 3 choices, but with 400 options, you're giving up 399 choices. And that can feel like a loss. Number 5. Relationships. When you try too hard to make a relationship work, you're more likely to end up breaking up. This is something many people have to learn the hard way, including myself when I was young and inexperienced. You can't force yourself to feel a certain way. In fact, the more you try to force a feeling, the more likely you are to feel the opposite. This applies to all emotion. For example, the more you try not to feel anxious, the more anxious you might become. The more you try to suppress anger, the angrier you may feel. Similarly, if you try too hard not to feel guilty, you might end up feeling even more guilty. Emotions have a way of perpetuating themselves. So when it comes to love, forcing yourself to love someone will likely make you love them less. Trying to force yourself to trust someone only reinforces the fact that you don't trust them. With emotions, you have to let go and allow yourself to feel them naturally. In relationships, this can be scary because you might fear that if you don't control the relationship, the other person might leave. And yes, that's a possibility. But if they stay, it's because they truly want to be there, which makes the relationship more meaningful. Number 4. Loving yourself. The more you love yourself, the better you can love others. And if you struggle to love yourself, it's harder to love others too. Basically, how you feel about yourself affects how you feel about others. If you're kind to yourself, forgiving when you mess up, and thankful for your achievements, you'll likely treat others the same way. But if you're tough on yourself, you'll probably be tough on others too. Our relationships often mirror how we treat ourselves, so if they're messy and tense, it might be because we're harsh on ourselves too. Number 3. Death. The more you accept the idea of death, the less you fear living. Living involves taking chances. To achieve anything significant, you must take risks. You might not risk your life, but you should be willing to risk other things like money, reputation, emotions, or dreams. If you're not willing to take risks, you won't be able to achieve much. So the more you are okay with the idea of losing something, even your life, the more freedom you have to truly live. Number 2. Uncertainty. The only thing we can be sure of is that we can't be sure of anything else. In other words, the only truth we know for sure is that we don't really know the truth. Number 1. Change is the only thing permanent. The only thing that stays the same is that things always change. It's like the world is constantly moving and shifting. What's true today might not be true tomorrow as we keep growing and evolving. So it's important to get comfortable with not always knowing what's going to happen. Embrace uncertainty, or should I say, get comfortable with feeling a bit uncomfortable. And here's a bonus idea. If you want to not like and subscribe to a channel, the best way to do that is to like and subscribe to a channel. It's a funny quirk of life, so go ahead and hit that button, get yourself organized, and I'll catch you in the next video.